Hi, this is Dr. Patricia Kariaga of Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. We are going to be doing a series on the course Industrial Social Work. Now, as you're aware, we've been doing these classes over the past semester, and these are usually 3-hour classes, 2 hours of course material, course delivery, content delivery, and then an additional hour of class activities, which usually include simulations, discussions, debates, practical sessions, quizzes, and so many other activities. So in these sessions, in these YouTube sessions, we're just basically going to try and summarize those 3-hour sessions per week into mini sessions that can help you revise the work. So members of the class, you're welcome. Any social worker who's interested in joining us, you're welcome. And anybody else who would like to just join us and ride along and understand the topic, you're welcome. So this week we're going to look at introduction to industrial social work. And so we want to have an understanding of a general understanding of what industrial social work is. Welcome. So as we move on, I'd just like to draw your attention to two of my books which are relevant to industrial social work. These books are available on nuriakenya.com. So you can order them online and you can just search Laughing Through the Madness and you'll be able to easily access the books. And the first one is Laughing Through the Madness, a satirical survival guide to the Kenyan workplace. Very comical book on various topics that are covering the workplace and yeah, how to deal with the working within our setup, our society, in different organizations. We also have a very good book, From Paycheck to the Village, Laughing, Crying, and Surviving the Kenyan Job Exit, whether somebody exits voluntarily or involuntarily. This book is very relevant for retirement, retrenchment, and other similar situations somebody may find themselves in. So I encourage you to just go to nuriakenya.com and then be able to access these books. You can also access these books from myself, the author, Dr. Patricia Atieno Kariaga, by ordering on pkariaga@gmail.com. Okay, so let's proceed. So we need to understand generally what industrial social work is. Of course, as we go through the sessions, this series, we're going to delve deeper into what industrial social work entails. But industrial social work is basically social work in the industry. It's one of the specializations of social work. We know social work has very many specializations, of which one of them is industrial social work. So social workers who work in industry, in business, in enterprises, okay? In other sectors or in some countries, we use the title occupational social work because it has to do with occupations, okay? Now, industry is very key. Industry is very key in any country. The sector, the economy runs on industries, on finance, on money, okay? Um, you know, so the success of businesses is very, very key to the development of communities, the development of society, of the country, of the world in general. And industrial social work is cognizant of that and cognizant also that these businesses need support. Businesses, business entities are also kind of like living organisms. They have a life of their own and they need support. A business needs support. Uh, People who work in that business need support. People who manage that business really, really need support. Stakeholders around that business or within that business need support. And that is, in brief, what industrial social work does. It supports the business psychosocially so that as much as the business is holding itself economically, um, it is like the neck of the business. Okay, so industrial social work exists because workplaces are high stress environments. It's work. No wonder it's referred to as work. there's a lot of competition. There's a lot going there in terms of trying to make it. So employees face burnout. Sometimes there's conflict because of competition. Pay may not be as they expect it to be. People may be facing harassment and different challenges that employees go through. And not just employees, employers also go through their fair share of challenges just managing these industries. But what we recognize and why industrial social work really exists is that we recognize that happy employees lead to productive organizations. And of course, productive organizations means money making organizations. And so we come in to be able to provide the interventions that make employees happy or happier, um, or more comfortable so that they can make more resources for the organization, even for non-profit making organizations, so that they can be more productive for those organizations. Now, of course, social work itself is over 100 years old, but industrial social work really came into play around the 1960s. You know, or initially or originally, employers would be able, they had the leeway to just fire somebody or let go of somebody at work when that person had behavioral problems or different kind of issues, let's say alcoholism. But then it reached a point where workers' rights became more pronounced, and through this, industrial social work penetrated using alcoholism in the workplace. Alcohol in the 1960s in the Western world became a major problem at the workplace, and employers couldn't just get rid of people because they were having alcohol problems, because sometimes replacing those same people was a challenge, okay? And so it was paramount to have experts who could provide interventions to assist these employees so that they would be able to carry on with their work, and also to prevent a conflict with the law now that people could be unionizable and so on and so forth. So there's been a lot of evolution, introduction of welfare officers in the UK also, whereby the first industrial social workers were working for trade unions in the UK. And then within the African setup, with the growth of the industrial age, or the industries taking over in the more developed countries, occupational social work began to take force, because organizations found it necessary now to actually have people who would look after their employees. So this has grown on, and even within the local setup, um, there are various interventions which we'll talk about that organizations have been implementing. So the scope of industrial social work is very quite broad. So we'll just mention for this, because this is an introductory class, um, part of it. So this involves employee counseling, right? Conflict resolution, collaboration with the human resources departments, training and capacity building, crisis management, occupational health and safety, employee assistance programs, and there's so many of these sectors that we're going to now go later on into detail about. So locally, we can just give examples of where a few examples of how we would practice industrial social work. For example, the sugar industry has had some challenges with keeping abreast. So in some of these industries there have been layoffs, and this has led to trauma among the employees and management. Okay, so those are areas in which you can work or you could have worked. In the manufacturing industries, we usually sometimes have industrial accidents. Okay, this is part of the work that you'll partake in, and we'll discuss this more in detail later. We have like tea estates where employees have complained about sexual harassment, for example, or exhaustion, burnout, okay, from working very long hours. We have new sectors like the border sector, where we have accidents taking place frequently. We have high levels of stress among the border riders. So there's so many different kind of examples that you can give in so many industries where industrial social workers can provide service. So let's look at a relatable case example so that we're able to connect, for example, how we would uh, proceed with an intervention. So let's look at a case in a county hospital within our country. We have a nurse named Monica. We can say that Monica is facing fatigue. She's suffering from anxiety. Her salary has been delayed for a very long time, or she has been receiving salaries delayed for periodically. She has harsh supervisors. So this Monica could be facing different things in the workplace. And in this case, an industrial social worker intervention would be needed to assist this person so that they can uh, be healthy mentally, and psychosocially, and also physically, and be able to perform their duties well, because nurses are responsible highly for the health of members of the society. So if this Monica is not in good shape, then that is going to be transferred to how she's going to provide her services to the patients in the hospital, and overall, therefore, the performance of the hospital. So we'll then go into, at another session, into some of the interventions that can be carried out. Okay. So what are some of the key takeaways of this introductory class? Okay. We've learned that industrial social work supports employees and supports industries. And it has a strong relevance, not just in Kenyan workplaces, but in workplaces all over the world. And so this introductory class lays a foundation for the rest of the course. Okay. So thank you for joining me again. This is Dr. Patricia Kariaga of Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. This is a series on the course Industrial Social Work. And this is the first session, which is Introduction to Industrial Social Work. As we proceed, we'll go deeper and deeper into the course so that you'll be able to, at the end, affirm yourself as having studied this course. So welcome to session 2. Thank you for attending session 1. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also share the video. Thank you.